I'm very happy this morning to introduce to you Kelly Mitchell. He's been a very serious meditator and student of Buddhist forms of meditation for over 30 years. He suffered a couple of acute run-ins with anxiety, after which he muddled through the beginning of learning meditation. Then he systematized the approach and created a lengthy online course on meditation to reduce anxiety. First of all, congratulations, Kelly, for having your article published on Authority Magazine titled 5 Effective Strategies for Mental Well-Being. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the causes of your initial bouts with anxiety?
Uh, sure. I was living in Dallas at the time, and I just really was not very connected to my life there. I suppose they'd call it generalized anxiety disorder or free-floating anxiety. There was no reason for it. Life was fine, but there was something really serious missing, significant amount of meaning missing in my life. And I'm finding a lot of people have that. That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
So. And then I left and I found my path as a Buddhist practitioner and a meditator, and that was very helpful.
What did you conclude after going through that, struggle, that dark period of time?
hmm
What did you conclude about that?
Boy, there's a lot you can say about that.
Yeah.
I'd say first off is that people need some meaning in their lives. They need some sense that life has a purpose, a point, and it doesn't have to be a meaning that is self-existing, that's out there that you find, but just you can make your own meaning in life with whatever it is, your social relations, helping people in some way. There's all sorts of things you can do. Some people can do it through hobbies or something, but a lot of times people get just caught up in a job they don't like and a life that's not fulfilling and some social relationships that are not very deep. And I think just that kind of anxiety can kind of creep up on people and make make their life very dissatisfying, and they don't know what's wrong. It's a
Yeah.
very pleasant, uncomfortable feeling.
You said at one point in your article that you realized that no one could save you. It was up to you to save yourself. How did it feel to come to that conclusion?
Right, I think that's the other key point of lessons that I found out is that relying on somebody else kind of disempowers you. So realizing that nobody else can save you at first is pretty kind of scary
Yeah.
because you want somebody to. That's the problem with anxiety is it's a sense of helplessness. You feel like you can't do anything.
Uh-huh.
Nothing's gonna quite ever work out. My main problem was I felt like I was going to go crazy and stay crazy, and I don't know how many people feel that, but probably some. But eventually, when I found meditation and started working with some ways to do it, I realized that being on your own is actually the good news because if you can get the confidence to realize that you can do it yourself, then it's up to you, and that gives you an incredible amount of confidence, which you can continually build on and increase. Whereas if you constantly have to rely on somebody else, that's very disempowering to you as a person. So that's my word of advice to anybody that's listening to this is you can do it. You can free yourself from anxiety, not completely, but everybody has a little bit. It's a natural manifestation of us. We have anxiety because there's animals in the world and we used to be scared of them and we'd get a little anxiety and we'd worry what's happening and it would save our lives. So we need a bit, but at this point, um, or we've got a bit, right? Naturally because of our biology. But at this point, we don't have a really good place to put it. So when we're anxious, we think something's wrong, but it's not really wrong. It's just a normal process of the mind dealing with its life. And
Uh-huh.
if we manage to just relate to the little anxieties as they come and go and deal with them directly, excuse me, then it becomes much more manageable.
What made you seek meditation as a treatment for anxiety?
Well, I just saw meditation independently, and anxiety just kind of helped to resolve itself along with that process. When I was looking for a spiritual path because, like I said, it was more about the meaning for me.
Yeah.
The anxiety was just, it was a big problem, but then it kind of was working its way through. I more had acute anxiety than chronic anxiety. It was just sometimes I would have really intense and it would last for a few, 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'd be fine.
Hmm.
Whereas other people, I think, have chronic anxiety where it's usually not so very bad, but it's always there and it just diminishes their quality of life. I
Yeah.
remember this story once. This is why I was inspired to do this program. Uh, I was at a group for anxiety, people that were having really hard time, and there was a girl there that had it a lot worse than me. It was lifelong, and she said she was getting in the car to go somewhere with her boyfriend, and she had an anxiety attack. And she said, "You have to turn the car around. I have to go home. I can't do this." And she said, "That happens to me a lot." And then she said, "My life is a joke, and I know it." And it was really painful. I've never forgotten that moment. I could almost cry right now just thinking about this poor girl. I hope she's better. But in a way, you could say that it's for her and for anyone like her, so that hopefully I can help them work through that. And I think it is possible. I think anybody can work with that and overcome it.
So a lot of the recovery, if you want to call it that, from anxiety is maybe examining your beliefs about yourself. What are you telling yourself? What are the negative thoughts going through your head? Is that part of what meditation addresses?
Uh, that's a different thing. It is helpful. It's very, very helpful, actually. But meditation is not so much about kind of disentangling the thought process. Meditation is more about just cutting through all the thoughts altogether and getting to the like essence of who you are as a person. So the disentangling, I've studied this a little bit, cognitive restructuring. I can't remember the name of it. And it's helpful for people. It turns out, having studied the science, that the meditative approach is better than
Okay.
that one. They both work pretty well, but the meditative approach somehow is a little bit edges that one out. And it's about just not relating to the thoughts at all or not giving them any credibility. It doesn't matter whether it's a good thought or whether it's a bad thought when you're meditating. So the restructuring of thoughts has to do with, I have a negative thought. Oh, I noticed that. I'm going to turn it into a positive thought. There's actually a really old Buddhist technique where you carry around a bag of black and white stones, and whenever you have a negative thought, you put a black stone in your pocket, and a positive thought, you put a white stone in your pocket, which is, I mean, it's almost like a childlike way to go about it, but it helps to restructure your thoughts. It's the same kind of thing. I think it's a good thing, and you can pre-program certain thoughts. Whenever you have your black stone, you think, ah, the white stone. In my case, or in the case of what I recommend, is this simple thought or this idea that we've had that you can even use as a mantra, and it's I am basically good, right?
Mhm.
I am basically good, and everyone is basically good. That's the idea. That's the way to believe. And it's a much better way of looking at it than I'm a, you know, I'm a bad job or whatever. I'm basically good because you're basically good, and everyone is basically good at their deepest essence. And when we say basically, we mean the deep essence. People make mistakes, they screw up, and some people go really bad. They go into a very bad frame, but deep beneath that is this essence we believe called basic goodness. It's also
Yes.
Buddha nature that can never be harmed. It can never be changed. It's just always there. No matter how bad a person gets, they can't get rid of that because it's so fundamental to what it means to be alive. And
Yes.
that thought can be very helpful. If you come to believe that, it's very helpful in dealing with anxiety because it gives you a grounding point, a place to say, I can just rest in this deepest essence of basic goodness, of who and what I am. And that's the kind of meditation I recommend.
I love that. You teach that it's good to explore anxiety rather than fighting it or trying to eliminate it. How does one do that?
Yeah, well, the course I put together is it has sort of three levels, and the first level is um, well, it's learning to meditate first of all, because it's not that easy. People think meditation is they have kind of vague ideas about it, and so I spend the first 4 or 5 lessons just saying this is what meditation is. This is how you do it, and you have to do the work. You can't just sit down and meditate. It's sort of like riding a bicycle, you know. If you've never ridden one before, you're going to wreck. And the learning part is not very fun, and a lot of people give up then because it's not fun. It's hard. You have to keep bringing your mind back, you know, because meditation at its most basic level is putting your mind on an object, whatever that is. If it's your basic goodness, or if it's your breathing, or a little statue of the Buddha, or a statue of Jesus, it doesn't really matter. But it's having the mind remain on that object. And the reason that works so well with anxiety or any other problem is because if you're focused your mind 100% on that, then it's not doing those other things. It's just not being anxious. And that's kind of the mistake a lot of people make in meditating for anxiety is they try and meditate on a thing called peace, and they try and meditate anxiety away and stuff like that. Just don't worry about it too much. Just meditate on what you're meditating on, and it will gradually release itself. Now, that's the basic level. That's the introductory level is just bring the mind back and then cutting the meditation. Just, you know, kind of cut it, let it dissolve, those kinds of things. Then
Okay.
a little bit deeper, a little bit more sophisticated level is what's called shunyata or emptiness. This is a Buddhist concept, core concept. And the idea is there that meditation isn't really a thing. It's a you feel your heart beating, you have a thought. There's a lot of different pieces that come together, but there's no real thing that it is. And if you look at it close, it resembles excitement. The physical characteristics of anxiety are virtually indistinguishable from excitement, which
Mm.
is really funny,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it. But at first, you got to see through that thick quality. This is anxiety. This is this like intense thing. It's like a bullet coming at you. Oh, and realize that there's nothing actually there. You can meditate on it. You can push your hand into it, and there's no particular thing. It's empty. So when you find that, you begin to be able to dissolve it right in the moment, right when it's coming up, right? You can meditate on situations where I'm getting anxious and then meditate on the anxiety and just feel it for what it really is. And then the third level, which takes it beyond this, is even though meditation is empty, it is there. There is a manifestation that's going on. And sort of one of the deepest characteristics is the energy. It's energy, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So instead of just saying, okay, I just don't want to deal with it, I got to dissolve it, I got to make it go away and so forth, take that energy. It's yours. Use it and claim it as your own power, right? And the best is if you say, I want to take this and I want to do something good in the world with it, because that gives you the power over it. So you become much more powerful that way, and it gives you meaning at the same time. So when you can bring those things together, then you've turned anxiety from this dreadful thing that's your master that's overcoming you to one of the images I use is a horse that you ride. It's a very common image, and it's like a sense of warriorship, the dignity of a warrior that's fighting for the good, and is so good that doesn't need to fight, right?
Okay.
So these are the kind of images as you get into the more advanced meditations. Anyway, that's pretty much the whole program.
So you take the energy of anxiety and transform it into a positive passion or purpose.
Right. Change it to your strength. And this is another point, is like one of the core points that I found is most people think that the way to deal with anxiety is to meditate on peace or calmness or something like that. But that's not really the opposite of anxiety. That's more the outcome. The
Hmm.
opposite of anxiety is confidence. So when
Okay.
you attain, if you're really, really confident, think about it, you're not anxious.
Yeah.
Anxious, you're not feeling confident. So one of the meditative components that I think is really helpful is to just meditate on your own confidence. And that's one of the messages. It's part of this basic goodness, this Buddha nature. Within that, you have all these virtues, all these good qualities that are there. They're like seeds that you can grow. You can become a wise person. You can become a compassionate person. And it's not that you have to go get those things and take them in, it's that they're already there. You just have to uncover them and nurture them. And then all those things will be, they're already part of who you are. You just have to bring them out, and you can do a lot of good in the world. So instead of feeling helpless, you feel empowered.
Hmm.
And you're benefiting the world. What could be better?
I love that. I love that concept. That's great. What are a few of your go-to strategies when you feel anxious? Other,
Well, these are them basically.
other
Um,
meditation.
it's but regarding anxiety as a friend, as a message, a messenger of something good, saying, excuse me, saying, okay, I'm anxious. Maybe I'm getting something wrong, or maybe I'm just excited, or maybe I just need to go for a walk. Maybe I can enjoy this. Why feel bad about it? Why turn it, the idea that it's negative and it's bad is just a concept. It's just an idea we have about it. Could be great.
Okay. You
So
mentioned walking in nature, how important walking in nature is for you.
yeah, I mean, I think it's important for everybody. Just physical movement and being in nature, those are very helpful. So I don't want to put everything on meditation,
Okay.
but you can bring meditation into all these activities, right? I think you can do a lot with meditation, but you do need to do some physical things. You do need to do, my list of five. I probably could have come up with 10 or 12, but it's good to have it five to keep it compact. So you do need what I call virtuous socialization.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, right, right. Okay, so virtuous socialization. They say one of the biggest causes of anxiety, or one of the biggest indicators of someone who is anxious, is social isolation. And that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you never talk to anybody, you never meet anybody. It means you feel alone even if you're with people,
Right.
which is a common feeling. I think we've all had it. It's just the conversations are very trivial. It's nobody likes small talk. It doesn't feel good, but you're
Mhm.
stuck with it a lot. And sometimes you're at work and people don't share the same value system or outlook as you are, or we're all scared to talk about it because maybe we like this candidate and they like that. Whatever these issues are, it's scary to talk about them. So we become more held to ourselves, right? And
Yes.
I don't know, in terms of the society, I have no answers for that. We're just gonna have to go through that and hopefully come out the other side and open up again as a society. But trying for virtuous socialization, just somebody you can really open up to, somebody you can connect with. Better to have one person you can do that with on a regular basis than 10 people that you're just kind of hanging out with, having a beer with.
Oh,
That's,
I agree wholeheartedly. I have so little tolerance for small talk.
yeah,
Don't don't care for it very much.
I know. Unfortunately, it is the kind of path to a deeper conversation when you meet somebody, and but who's good at it? A few people are, and you meet them and you think, wow, that person can really just talk about anything. It's amazing. I told you I respect it a lot, and I wish I could.
You mentioned socialization also includes with animals.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think we can have too narrow of an idea. Yeah, you see people and they have their dogs or their cats and they love them. And I talk to my dog all the time. Say,
Huh?
"Hey, dog." She's around here. She's probably asleep out in the yard. Yeah, that sense of communion and so forth. Like we do tend to think of socialization as talking to people, but it's more than that. you know? I mean, you can socialize with somebody without ever saying a word.
Yeah,
Of course, it can be really powerful communications, even just eye contact, you know, or gestures, or even just being with somebody in the room that you know really well and just
yeah.
you're each just reading a book, but that's okay. You just feel each other's presence.
Because the connection of your energies is there.
Yeah.
Uh, from your article, you have a passion for teaching meditation to others. Where can people connect with you and your teaching?
You can go to tibetdharma.com.
Okay.
Dharma is Dharma, and
Yeah.
Tibet. That's the system I practice is Tibetan Buddhism. And then you can just poke around in the links. There's a whole bunch of articles I've written. I've got like 200 or some odd posts on there. And then there's a section on courses where you can see my face and me talking. And the
Hmm.
first one I've done is this anxiety one. I just did it a couple of months ago. I just kind of got it together into shape. You can do that one. The first section is free, and then
Okay.
I charge a little bit for the more advanced stuff if you like the first one. And yeah, go check it out. Doesn't cost anything to see if it's for you and if it can help. And I'm there. You can write to me and I'll try to answer whatever questions people have. And if a lot of people want some support with this, if I start getting some traction, and then I could do a group and we could meet
Mhm.
once a week or something like that. I'm open to whatever, if I think if it's going to help people, then I'm happy to do it. And yeah, I really love it. So
I,
there you
hi-
go.
I highly recommend the viewers of this video go to Authority Magazine and read the entire article. It's quite comprehensive. It's titled Five Effective Strategies for Mental Well-Being. And I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me this morning. And
Mm.
um, and also, I appreciate all the good that you are bringing to the world.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. It was really a pleasure to be here. I do love talking about this. And if you don't mind, when we end something like this, we usually do a bow. Sometimes we'll just do like in what's called Anjali. And then what that does is it just acknowledges the other person is basically good, just like you. So thank you very much.
Very happy to give that to you. Thank you again for spending this time with me this morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And you as well.